So, this is another episode, a spiritual successor to my first somewhat unpopular opinion on why Police Knots will never have a remake or a remaster or anything of those sorts. So, today I wanted to focus on the Nintendo Switch. And what I want to cover here very briefly is why Nintendo might and statistically probably will botch or ruin the Nintendo Switch. Now, Nintendo has a huge success on their hands. This is an off the cuff, unscripted, no cue cards, no notes, evaluation of what I think is coming here soon. Nintendo had a flop in recent memory for most gamers. We all know what that is. That's depending upon how old you are, it's either the Wii or the Wii U. 2006, the Wii. 2012, the Wii U. Depending on how old you are, literally, in my opinion, will determine which of those two is Nintendo's penultimate flop. Flop meaning not successful, you don't care about it, you bought it and were upset, you didn't buy it and were upset, and a whole host of other reasons. Maybe you bought it and your friends made fun of you for it, and the list goes on. So let's talk about this. Again, totally off the cuff here. Nintendo has a very storied history in coming after fan-developed items. We're seeing someone now who, again, this is unscripted, someone who perceivably thwarted Nintendo, and it's a very debatable subject here, is being sent to prison for quite a lengthy amount of time, despite a very negative health condition. And so this is a company who, not to disparage them just for that, but I'm using that just to add some flavor here. So we're dealing with a company who actively pursues lawsuits against anyone who is deemed to be a threat to their financial bottom line, no matter how big or small. Various other YouTubers are illustrating this concept very eloquently with facts and figures. Let's not get into that. Let's get into the off the cuff. Here we go. Nintendo's going to screw up the Switch. They're going to screw it up. They're going to botch it. And why is that? Well, most gamers aren't stock traders. I don't pretend to be one. But anyone who dabbles in the realm of assessing any sort of equities might have noticed that Nintendo and the Japanese market in general is undervalued tremendously. And do your research. Nintendo was trading at, $12, $10, $11 a share not that long ago. And the public has recently caught on. How does that tie into this? Well, we have a situation here where Nintendo has its most illustrious product. Arguably, the numbers are still coming in, the facts and figures, and the revenue is still coming in as we speak. We have debatably their most successful product ever created. Now, by those standards, Nintendo cannot statistically, probabilistically surpass that. So let's reality check here. Whatever Nintendo does next is not going to blow your mind. It's probably going to upset you, and it's probably going to upset you in a major way. Why is that? Well, like I just said, statistically speaking here, Nintendo cannot surpass the success that they've had with the Switch. The only way that they could come close, and this is a rumor mill that is very pervasive across the super geeks on YouTube, as I like to refer to them as, the super geeks, the super nerds, are really just hammering the fact that there's going to be a Switch Pro. Now, Nintendo doesn't do Switch Pro. They do not do what you think the the majority of companies are going to do. They're not Sony, they're not Microsoft, okay? Let's just stop the nonsense. They're not going to do a Switch Pro. What they're going to do, in my estimation, and you'll have all the opportunity in the world to make fun of me when this maybe doesn't come true, but it probably will. Nintendo is going to interpret some kind of societal shift in this strange kind of paradigm that must only exist in the four walls of Nintendo corporate to be a reason for changing the game entirely yet again. They hit the nail on the head with the Switch. The system is great. Everything is great. There's some hits and some misses in between, but by and large, for conversation, the Switch is in every household. So where do we go from there? Obviously, the answer is down. Okay, this is not something that's going to be a very popular opinion, and I'm receptive to a lot of criticism here. But let's be real. If you created the best thing you've ever done, you can't expect the next thing to be the best thing you've ever done again, right? We have, think of music, your first record or second record or whatever the case is. These great bands that we listen to, regardless of what your musical taste is, they have one good album and everything else is just kind of not up to par. It's not up to standards. You don't like it as much. Their best album, you could just hit play, hit shuffle. Maybe you don't even need to just do that. You just find the artist. Oh, here's the album. You hit play, let it play through, and it's a good time. You can listen to the whole thing uninterrupted. Throw the vinyl on there. You listen to the whole thing in order, sequentially. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's amazing to you. It is not realistic to think Nintendo's next album is going to be better. Okay? It's not. And some of the historical examples here, what I'm going to focus on right now is the Nintendo Wii and the Nintendo Wii U. I don't know what was going on back in time where Nintendo decided, hey, we're going to do motion controls. If you were of gaming age of the time, you probably said, what is going on? Why do I have to aim this strange, Lego brick at the screen? I'm not getting any value from that. I'm trying to play Twilight Princess. Why do I have to swing this Wiimote? And your arguments, in my opinion, are valid. Why? Why did you have to do that? The Wii U comes out. Nintendo just adds some horsepower, and they still have some kind of weird interface. I've never even owned a Wii U. Most of my friends did, and I said, I'm not interested. We played Pikmin, the Mario games, the Donkey Kong releases, right? The Wii U is almost like a Switch Lite. Everybody who's in the know understands this. But nobody's willing to talk about it. I'm willing to talk about it. Nintendo's going to ruin the Switch, and it's going to happen soon, and it's going to happen fast. They will interpret some kind of societal shift as a reason to totally change what they're doing. Now, what are some other comparisons, right? So the Wii, we had the Wii Shop channel, the Wii U channel. You could go online, you could buy all these classics. At the time when the Wii U had their arguably the best ports ever for any of the legacy console systems, the Wii U debatably had the best ports, specifically about Nintendo 64, things of that nature, right? They had the best ports. They had some guy, the details escape me, but he's no longer there. And they were putting extra attention. Okay, so we're in 2022. We have Switch. We have all these different games coming out. In my opinion, they're pretty successful. Most of the people in my social circle are purchasing them. So where do we go from here, right? How do we evolve to the next stage? Nintendo will not just sit here. There could be some sort of Switch that maybe has a little bit of a different look to it. Maybe there's a new chip in there that We'll increase some horsepower, right? So we'll get some better frame rates. And that'll be kind of a very quick appeasement. They will appease potentially. They might not, right? So they may not do that. And I'm willing to bet that they won't. There is an inverse correlation to the amount of subject matter that comes from the regular general public, the regular gamers out there. It's a converse. It's the opposite. Nintendo will do the opposite of that. When Wind Waker came out, okay, if you were of the proper gaming age, the actual target demographic for Wind Waker, you were not pleased. Now, you could say you liked it and everything like that, but in your heart of hearts, it was not Ocarina. You didn't understand what was going on. Why are you buying a cartoon? And this will continue. Nintendo will botch the Switch. They will take what they have grown here, which is a masterpiece, and they will ruin it. They will ruin it for a variety of reasons, predominantly because they live in their own bubble where they believe they are totally impervious. They are Super Mario and they've picked up a star and they're just running with it. Okay, they are impervious to what our interpretations of their moves are. They're impervious to the desires of the fan base to create ROMs and different things and explore different avenues. They are totally opposed to the will of the public. They are in their own domain. They will do as they please. And this power that they have in that domain, right or wrong, will take the Switch and just kind of turn it into ashes. They will burn it up on impact. And I'm very happy if this does not come to pass. However, history suggests they will ruin it. The entire YouTube community is waiting on bated breath for the release of a double pack Wind Waker Twilight Princess HD remaster. And why is Nintendo not delivering it? I'll tell you why. They're not delivering it because they need that double pack, huge blockbuster Zelda title release in the Wind Waker and Twilight Princess to be available to them for when they inevitably botch and ruin the Nintendo Switch legacy by releasing new hardware that just does not meet the demands that we have in the gaming community currently, and they need a quick revenue injection. They will release those games at that time. We will never, ever, mark my words, see those titles released on the Switch as it stands right now. Again, this is Retro Renovo with my second opinion piece here, my second voiceover, my second unpopular opinion. If you like it, like it. If you don't, tell me. Let's talk about it. Subscribe if you want to. If you don't, who cares? Thanks for listening.